Hey, Husker fans, Evan Bland here with Jimmy Watkins from the Omaha World-Herald, fresh out of another day of fall camp. And today we heard from special teams coach or coordinator Bill Bush, a number of players, a number of assistant coaches. Kind of the second week of camp, a lot of maybe the anticipation and the jitters are sort of out. And now it feels like guys are just sort of getting into this thing, and we're starting to really drill down a little bit more into how this team could look this year. I guess, where do you start with who you spoke with today, Jimmy? What'd you learn?
I think the biggest thing that we learned today was Barrett Ruud talking about the inside linebackers and how he wants to get Luke Reimer and Nick Henrik a little bit more of a breather this year. Luke and Nick basically never took a snap off last season, and Ruud said he did a bad job with that. Obviously, and he mentioned this with teams like Ohio State and Michigan, you want your best players on the field at all times, but there are moments in other games where maybe I think he saw an opportunity to get them a breather, and it just didn't end up working out. A couple of guys who could be in the mix for those spots. Ernest Hausman has been impressing early in camp, the true freshman. Barrett Ruud called him a shiny car, which basically means that he looks the part. He's big, he's athletic, he's fast. Ruud also called him a natural pass rusher. He's got a good feel for it, which is not typical of a linebacker. Another guy who could grab some of those reps to spell Reimer and Henrik is Atava Maga Clements, but also known colloquially around these parts as Va. Ruud mentioned him as a guy who's just progressed a ton in terms of his understanding of the playbook. Said he's asking, quote, 400-level questions. One example, Maga Clements asked Ruud about a specific power run play that Michigan was running and how Nebraska would attack that. That just shows the kind of outside legwork that he's doing around scouting the Big Ten, and it's a couple steps above to be mild, just asking, hey, where should I be on this play? A few other things from camp. I was standing with Timmy Bleekrode, one of the biggest celebrities on the Nebraska football team this year. He's the kicker. For those who don't know, he's going to be pretty important if last year is any indication. He was mostly dismissive of most of our questions. We're trying to ask him the largest stadium he's ever kicked in, for the record. He played at NC State last year, which I think he estimated was about 50,000 fans, and he said that he just blocks out the noise, just like every other kicker. Tried to ask him about like a slump that he's been in before. He said last year, because he punted and kicked at Furman, he said last year he had trouble turning the ball over as much as he wanted at the beginning of the year. And the key there is just not to think. Even like he kind of even stopped himself from talking about it a little bit today because he doesn't want to dwell on it and plant the seed back in his head. I'm fascinated by the specialists. They are fascinating creatures. He also threw some praise at punter Brian Buschini's way, saying he's one of the hardest workers he's ever been around. Even when the guys went out to kick and Buschini wasn't kicking during the summer, he was practicing his holds and drops on the side. So they're committed. That's a good start. And one more guy that I talked to today, Chris Kolarevic, who's in the mix at that nickel spot, said he's watching a lot of film of JoJo Domann, which is to be expected. He was really impressed with how JoJo used his combination of speed and power last season. Other guys he's watching, NFL guys, Kolarevic's a Michigan guy, so he watched a lot of Jabril Peppers during the offseason. He likes the way Jabril fashions his stamina. Basically said that Jabril plays defense, special teams, and he always looks like it's the first play of the game, and Kolarevic is trying to take pride in that and be that same kind of player. He wants to be a big factor on special teams and come off the field as little as possible. Jeremiah J.O.K., the guy from the Browns who played at Notre Dame, I hope you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to try that last name. He's a freak athlete. Kolarevic has some of that in him, too. He's one of the best testers on Nebraska's team last spring and same this year. Owosu is a pretty good pass rusher. Kolarevic would love to get in on some blitz packages. Kenny Moore for the coverage stuff. That's what he's watching those guys for. Evan, what did you learn today?
Well, right now I'm watching this huge crane sort of lift and lower some of these different items into the expansion facility going on here. But no, I think to me the big takeaway was from the running back side of things. We heard from Brian Applewhite, the assistant position coach for them, as well as Gabe Ervin, who, if you remember, tore his ACL during the Oklahoma game last year. He's 100%. He's ready to go. He was a starter for 2 games there before that injury, so he's someone to watch for. Applewhite sort of likened it to the derby, a Kentucky derby, where you have these thoroughbreds sort of racing, and he's hoping for a photo finish. He's also hoping for some sort of a feature back. So that's sort of to be played out over these next few weeks. He did say that, in his career, he has played true freshmen before. So guys like A.J. Allen, Emmett Johnson have just as much of a chance as some of the older guys like Ramir Johnson, Jaquez Yant, and kind of on down the line. So that's another position. And then lastly, we heard from Bill Bush up front about special teams. And, I feel like a lot of the information that's come on about special teams, and remember, Bush was part of the program last year as an analyst, has been cultural stuff. Guys ready to go 20 minutes before the meeting starts, being attentive, sort of that attitude towards special teams not being something that's sort of left over, but a real emphasis for them. And, of course, we all know how much of a struggle that's been for Nebraska in winning games these last handful of years. So that's kind of how it went today. We'll be back with Frost tomorrow. Coach Frost speaks tomorrow, and then they have a scrimmage this weekend. That'll be telling as they continue to sort of sift through things and put together a depth chart ahead of Ireland and Northwestern later this month. For Jimmy, I'm Evan. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later.